No, it's not. So first of all, and I have had my objections to the job that Karine Jean-Pierre did, but she worked in politics for 21 years, 5 presidential campaigns, and worked in 2 administrations.
A staunch Trump loyalist and unapologetic Gen Z conservative, Leavitt's sharp rhetoric and bold social media presence have already made waves.
When fiery political drama collides with the chaos of daytime television, the result is nothing short of explosive. Enter Karoline Leavitt, the youngest White House press secretary in history, facing off against the outspoken hosts of The View. This showdown was packed with sharp exchanges, shocking revelations, and moments so intense they sent ripples through the media world. Joy Behar and Whoopi Goldberg found themselves on the defensive as tensions soared, proving that daytime TV is anything but light entertainment. Buckle up, this is one clash you won't want to miss.
Earning a hefty 6-figure salary, she is not just the face of the president's second term, she's also the voice promising to shake up how the White House.
Imagine this. Karoline Leavitt, just 27 years old, steps into history as Donald Trump's press secretary. A moment that could have been celebrated, but instead turned into an all-out media battlefield. The hosts of The View wasted no time taking aim, throwing some of the most eye-roll-worthy jabs imaginable. But here's why this really matters. Leavitt didn't just stroll into the White House with a smile and good intentions. She came in ready to shake things up. In her very first briefing, she announced sweeping changes to the press room, vowing to disrupt the traditional media hierarchy. Legacy outlets? No special treatment. Instead, she made room for independent voices, podcasters, bloggers, and social media influencers. According to Leavitt, millions of Americans, especially younger generations, are turning away from mainstream TV and newspapers, choosing to get their news from independent sources instead. A bold move, no doubt, but not everyone saw it that way.
Speaking of Donald Trump, I was stunned and amazed by his new White House spokeswoman today. She's actually the youngest ever in that job.
Now, onto the drama at The View, where the hosts wasted no time tearing into this rising political powerhouse. Leading the charge, Joy Behar, who delivered what many are calling a shockingly dismissive remark. She's probably been put in there because, according to Donald Trump, she's a 10. Behar snarked, reducing Leavitt's qualifications to her appearance. The backlash was swift and brutal. Critics slammed Behar for hypocrisy, and let's be honest, for pushing an outdated narrative in a time when women are shattering barriers across every industry. One social media user summed it up bluntly. If I were a better person, I'd feel embarrassed for her, but Joy Behar is just a miserable person who wants everyone else to be miserable too.
Karoline Leavitt, she's just 27 years old, but boy, was she giving it to the Trump haters in her first White House briefing.
But wait, it gets even juicier. Whoopi Goldberg wasn't about to sit this one out. She jumped in with a fiery critique of Leavitt's press briefing, zeroing in on one of her most controversial statements, a vow to cut funding for transgender programs and so-called wokeness in federal agencies. Whoopi's response, a passionate lecture on how wokeness was the very reason Leavitt even had the opportunity to hold her position in the first place. The debate quickly escalated, turning into a clash of ideologies that had audiences and social media buzzing.
Because she said something yesterday that really pissed me off. And that was, she said there will be no wokeness here.
Oh, yeah.
Let me explain something to you.
It was supposed to be a mic drop moment, but instead it fell flat. Many saw Goldberg's remarks as condescending, with critics calling her out for distorting the meaning of wokeness to suit her agenda. What could have been a strong rebuttal ended up adding more fuel to an already heated debate.
Without that wokeness, you might not have that job.
Yeah.
Because women were not invited to that table.
And let's not forget Sunny Hostin, who wasted no time voicing her skepticism about Leavitt's media reforms. Scoffing at the idea of allowing independent journalists and influencers into the briefing room, Hostin dismissed them as unqualified, calling it the rise of mediocrity. Ouch. The irony? The View has long branded itself as a champion of diverse voices, yet they seem surprisingly quick to dismiss those outside the mainstream media bubble. One fiery comment online summed it up best. The View doesn't even know what a woman is. Another declared, cancel The View. I can't wait until they're off the air. Meanwhile, Karoline Leavitt wasn't about to sit back and take the hits. Instead, she clapped back in the most strategic way possible by doubling down on her criticism of legacy media. During her briefing, she called out outlets like The View for losing the trust of everyday Americans. The lies that have been pushed by many legacy media outlets in this country about this president, his family, and this administration will no longer be tolerated, she stated. And just to drive the point home, Leavitt made a bold move, restoring press passes for 440 journalists who had been sidelined under the previous administration. Now that's a power play.
Bang, Rowan, I couldn't do that at 27. No nonsense, straight to the point, courage, detail.
But let's rewind for a moment because there's another layer to this drama that can't be ignored. The hosts of The View weren't just reacting to Leavitt's policies, they were reacting to her as a person by framing her as a so-called 10. Joy Behar didn't just take a jab at Leavitt, she insulted every woman who has ever fought to be valued for more than just her appearance. And Whoopi's lecture on wokeness? It felt less like a discussion and more like an attempt to undermine Leavitt's intelligence and grasp.
Karoline Leavitt is the press secretary at the White House, doing a great job. Such a great job that the ladies of The View feel the green monster coming upon them.
Of the issues at hand. For a show that prides itself on empowering women, this was a major misstep, and the internet wasn't shy about calling them out. One user summed up the frustration perfectly. If a Republican said anything remotely like that, they'd be crucified.
Karoline Leavitt is the press secretary at the White House, doing a great job. Such a great job that the ladies of The View feel the green monster coming upon them.
This isn't the first time The View has been accused of targeting conservative women with personal attacks. Remember their treatment of former White House press secretary Kayleigh McEnany? Back then, the panel didn't hold back their disdain, often dismissing her as nothing more than a mouthpiece for Trump, despite her sharp legal background and proven ability to handle some of the toughest press rooms in modern history. It seems there's a pattern here. Strong, articulate women who don't align with The View's political stance are often reduced to caricatures. And yet, when the tables are turned, the show is quick to cry foul over perceived slights against liberal women in power. Many fans have called out this glaring double standard, labeling it for what it is: hypocrisy.
They really don't like this woman. She's a good communicator. And so Joy Behar just offered her analysis on why Leavitt was picked for the role.
What's even more telling is how The View hosts seem to underestimate the intelligence of their own audience. By focusing on petty jabs and dismissive remarks, they risk alienating viewers who see through the noise. Social media reactions suggest that people are fed up with the condescension. They want real discussions about the issues, not schoolyard insults. One user captured the frustration perfectly. They think we're too dumb to notice, but we see it. They don't want to debate, they want to destroy. It's a sentiment that goes beyond just the Karoline Leavitt controversy, tapping into a deeper frustration with the state of mainstream political discourse as a whole.
But even factoring in that she's a nice-looking lady, I love that the libs' attacks on conservatives right now are that we're hot and cool.
And then there's the irony of The View questioning Karoline Leavitt's qualifications. Let's not forget, Leavitt has already built years of experience in both the Trump administration and on Capitol Hill. She's managed high-stakes communications under intense pressure, all while breaking barriers as a young professional in a cutthroat environment. Now, compare that to some of the hosts on The View, many of whom built their platforms on celebrity status rather than policy expertise. The contrast couldn't be starker. No wonder so many viewers are rallying behind Leavitt, seeing her as a fresh voice in a world saturated with tired talking points. But this isn't just a clash between Karoline Leavitt and The View. It's a snapshot of a much larger battle: traditional media versus the rising wave of alternative platforms. By opening the White House briefing room to independent outlets, Leavitt is challenging a system that has long been dominated by a select few. And while critics may scoff, the numbers don't lie. Millions of Americans are turning away from legacy media, opting for podcasts, blogs, and social media as their primary news sources. That shift terrifies traditional networks, which explains why The View hosts reacted so strongly. It's not just about Leavitt, it's about the fear of losing influence. And let's not overlook the hypocrisy. Whoopi Goldberg passionately defended wokeness as a force for good, citing past struggles for equality. But where was that same energy when Joy Behar reduced Leavitt's accomplishments to her looks? If The View truly stands for empowerment and equality, their actions should reflect their words. Instead, they came across as defensive, out of touch, and, frankly, threatened by a young woman unafraid to call them out. Of course, no political drama is complete without outside commentary to spice things up. Enter Greg Gutfeld, who wasted no time delivering a scathing take on the situation, throwing in his own jab at Joy Behar. If Karoline is a 10, where does that leave Joy? Quip. A low blow? Sure, but it mirrored the very rhetoric The View had already dished out. The internet erupted, with fans pointing out the irony, laughing at the double standards, and proving once again that this debate is far from over.
And Karoline Leavitt isn't just making headlines, she's also rewriting history. At 27, the New Hampshire native has become the youngest White House press secretary ever.
So, where does this leave us? On one side, we have Karoline Leavitt, a rising star shaking up the media landscape with her bold approach to press relations. On the other, The View, a show that appears increasingly out of touch with the changing tides of journalism and public discourse. This clash isn't just headline-worthy drama, it's a reflection of the broader cultural and political shift happening in America. Legacy media is losing its grip while independent voices are gaining ground. But here's the real question. Is this the beginning of the end for The View? With fans calling for the show's cancellation and its credibility taking repeated hits, the writing on the wall is getting harder to ignore. Meanwhile, Leavitt is only gaining momentum, proving she's not just a headline or a talking point, but a serious political force to be reckoned with.
Isn't it rich that The View is saying she got the job based on looks when DEI is all about based on looks?
So, what do you think? Are legacy media outlets like The View losing their grip on the narrative, or will they find a way to bounce back? And is Karoline Leavitt the disruptor we didn't know we needed, or just another polarizing figure in an already divided landscape? Drop your thoughts in the comments and stay tuned. This story is far from over.